This building that I'm standing under is called the Velodrome. It's this massive indoor cycling ring that the German government built for a failed application for the 2000 Olympics. And I couldn't think of a better place in Berlin to talk about the future of cycling, electric bikes, and this bike in particular. Hey, Editing Martin here. This was the intro that I filmed for the whole video. It was supposed to be this uplifting take about the future of biking and whatever. And then about halfway through filming the video, my bike that I was reviewing actually got stolen from our backyard. So I'm afraid I'll have to inject a bike theft story in the middle of this utopistic vision of the future, but I hope you enjoy the video anyway. When the pandemic started, I decided to finally switch to biking for my main commute, and I had to make a choice. Would I get a traditional bike or an electric one? Well, back then I chose this beautiful classic Peugeot race bike, and I still love it dearly, but since then we got electric bikes with replaceable batteries that still managed to look sleek, like this one from Cowboy here, so they became a viable option for me, and I thought it was finally time to give them a try and to share my thoughts. So this model is called the Cowboy 4 ST, where ST stands for the step-through frame. There's also a model with a regular frame, but I wanted to try this one for its unique design, and overall this is about as good an e-bike as you can get. You start by walking up to it and unlocking it with your phone, which also automatically turns the front and rear lights on, and off you go. The bike senses how much force you add to the pedals, and the 250-watt motor on the rear wheel automatically amplifies it. Pedal harder and it pushes harder. No buttons, no gears, nothing, and it's almost completely silent, so it just feels as if you were suddenly a much better biker than you actually are. The acceleration feels so natural that for a while I kind of doubted whether the bike was even doing much at all, but then that illusion shattered pretty quickly when I went back to my old Peugeot a week later. I instantly felt the lack of a motor, and my girlfriend on the Cowboy comfortably overtook me while riding up a hill. According to the app, the bike does about half the work on an average ride, so you are like twice as good a biker than you would be normally, and from my experience, the split works a little something like this. You get a lot of help at low speeds when you are starting from zero or going uphill, for example, and then as you reach nearly 25 kilometers an hour, to which the bike engine is legally limited to help you with, at least here in the EU, the human starts to take over more and more. Now you might have noticed that this bike comes not with a chain, but instead a carbon belt, and that is one of my all-time favorite things about it. It's completely silent, there is no oil that you have to reapply every few weeks, it doesn't stain your pants, it doesn't rust or corrode, and belts like this supposedly last upwards of 30,000 kilometers, so there's a pretty good chance that you will never have to service it at all. Constant rain and snow in Berlin, plus my lazy maintenance schedule, means that the chain on my Peugeot is already messed up, and I therefore enthusiastically embraced this glorious belt drive on the Cowboy. Also fantastic are the fairly fat tires that, despite having no ridges, don't seem to be slippery at all, even in the rain, and the disc brakes, which are the best I've tried on a bike yet. They stop me from full speed to full stop in maybe 3 meters flat, and in combination with the rest of the bike, they make me feel super confident to ride at higher speeds. The riding position of the ST is also almost as comfortable as you'd get on a classic Dutch Oma fiets, which feels really funny and weird as you take over people hunching over their race bikes, and the main reason I got a Cowboy over a competitor like a Van Moof, for example, is that you can simply pop out the battery and you can charge it in a few hours at home. And by the way, one charge will last you about 50 to maybe 70 kilometers. I live upstairs and without an elevator, so other bikes like the Van Moofs, for example, that have the batteries integrated inside the frames themselves, they're basically not an option for me at all. And I'm really happy that Cowboy managed to keep a bike frame that looks as sleek and integrated as theirs, but while still having a replaceable battery. That's super cool. Those are my positives about this bike, and now let's move on to the negatives. First is the fact that it comes with this quad-lock phone holder that needs a special phone case to attach to it. Sure, it's nice that it exists for people who have such a case. It is nice that it wirelessly charges your phone while it's at it, and the Cowboy app itself is also pretty sleek with built-in navigation, a speedometer, etc. But they don't make cases for my phone or many other exotic models that fit this lock, so I simply can't use it. Boo. Second, I dislike the fact that this is a single gear bike, and on the SD especially, it is geared mostly for low speeds. So when you reach about 25 kilometers an hour or above, you really have to pedal a lot. I ride pretty fast most of the time, so the SD especially is a little bit annoying at high speeds. Apparently the non-step through version of the Cowboy has a different gear ratio that is better optimized for riding at higher speeds, so you have to pedal less on that. But of course the ideal solution is what VanMoof is doing, which is to have multiple gears that the bike automatically switches between. That way it's not a problem at all. And finally, I don't really like how this bike handled theft. It has GPS built in, so you can try to track your bike when it's gone, but the rest of the anti-theft tech is kind of weak. Unlike a VanMoof, it doesn't have an alarm to scare thieves off in the moment, or a kick lock to make riding away a stolen bike that much harder, and it only alerts you on your phone when your bike is getting stolen if you get Cowboy's theft insurance, which costs an extra 120 euros a year. I was testing a review unit, meaning the bike wasn't actually my property, so I didn't buy insurance for it. The company that sent it to me didn't activate this feature, so I only realized that the bike was gone maybe like a day too late or so, when I looked out of my window and I was like, weird. I thought I parked my bike there, I went downstairs and voila, it's gone. So that's not exactly great. Once we started looking for the bike, we got what seems like fairly reliable updates, but for some reason the app only seems to show the last few coordinates, so it's really hard to establish a timeline of a stolen bike's movements as well. Now, bike theft is a common issue in general in the world, so I won't dwell too much on it in this video, but I did try to recover the bike based on the GPS signals twice, and I filmed some of my bike chasing adventures. If you want to hear the story of my chase and my wild encounters with the police, I made a separate storytime video about them that is exclusive to Nebula, and to get access you can subscribe to our Nebula and CuriosityStream bundle that is linked down in the description. The bundle is less than $15 for an entire year. It gets you access to a ton of Nebula bonus content from me, not just bikes, City Beautiful, and many other great educational creators, all without ads, as well as of course CuriosityStream, which didn't sponsor this video in particular, but is generally a channel sponsor. So check it out, links are in the description, and back to the main topic. Anyway, beside the theft story, I really enjoyed riding my Cowboy, and I've actually left a link to it down in the description if you want to check it out. Just be sure to actually get theft insurance if you buy it. But next I wanted to talk about the future of e-bikes and bikes in general. So next to the industry giants like Giant, Cowboy from Belgium is one of the 3 big e-bike startups on the market, with the other 2 being VanMoof from the Netherlands and Red Power from the US. These 3 have all received over $100 million in funding from top-tier venture capital investors, and a lot more is expected as the growth in the industry has been extremely high. While total sales of bikes haven't gone up by that much, for example here in Europe they only increased by about 10% during the first year of the pandemic, the bike types that are being sold and their uses have changed dramatically. We can see that e-bikes are quickly overtaking traditional bikes in sales in most countries like Germany and France, and cargo bikes in particular are seeing immense growth, especially in Europe. But what you might not have known is just how dominant e-bikes already are. 8.5 million people own pedelec e-bikes in Germany already, which is more than 12 times the number of electric cars that have collectively been sold in the country in total. And similarly, in France last year, both e-bikes and e-scooters vastly outsold electric cars and plug-in hybrids as well. Germany alone also sold about twice as many e-bikes as the entire US sold electric cars. So if we are in fact looking at an electric vehicle revolution in the West at all, it is one that is led by e-bikes and scooters, not really by cars. Electric bike users ride more often and they ride further than regular bike users on average, so they are more likely to use them as real car replacements, and their higher price tags are driving up revenues in the market massively. E-bikes made the industry so lucrative that even luxury and fashion brands are hopping on the bandwagon, and like cars, they are increasingly becoming fancy designer objects as well. Both historical trends and forecasts from market research firms suggest that biking in general, and e-bikes in particular, are likely to keep increasing for many more years to come, and many governments across the world that were on the roll expanding cycle paths even before the pandemic, well, those got an extra kick now and accelerated the growth even more. From a recent survey in Italy, we can see that 5 out of the top 6 reasons for people to avoid biking were related to a lack of safe infrastructure and parking. So if cities do build better infrastructure like Paris or Oslo did, we can expect bike traffic to pick up even more in the future as well. Especially now with both the price of fuel and lithium being absolutely through the roof, it became extremely expensive to drive a car, whether it is a regular gas one or an electric one. Just for comparison, the capacity of a Tesla Model S battery is about 300 times as big as the capacity of a Cowboy electric bike battery. So clearly those are a lot more heavily affected by the price increases. And so it is as good a time as ever to switch to a bike, whether it is an electric one or not, and to pressure your government to build better infrastructure. All right, I've put links to both the bike as well as the Insta360 camera that I shot many of the shots with in this video down in the description. These are affiliate links, which means that if you use them, you get the best possible price and I get a small kickback from them. Both of these companies sent me these devices as review units, but neither company made any payments and neither had any editorial control over these videos. They're both seeing them right alongside with you for the first time. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one.